Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 word for our Chinese Grand Prix race debrief live. A race of two halves, I've titled this, because there is nothing else to say about it. The first 30 laps, dull as... Yeah, it's a Sunday, I won't swear. But the second half, absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm going to pop the race result on the screen for you. I'm not going to read through it, because I think this could turn out to be quite a long stream if we're not careful. So I'm going to bring Jonty straight in and say, first of all, good morning, Jonty.
Good morning, everyone. How are we?
I'm all right, mate. I mean, I was a little bit halfway through that race. I'm not going to lie. I thought, great, we're back to Australia levels. And yeah, that kind of blew up around, well, as you predicted, around lap 32.
Yeah, can't believe that actually came to fruition. Just having random chats through the DMs on Discord, and I said a safety car on lap 32 would be nice. Oh, whoops.
Yeah, so Jonty is going to be giving out next week's lottery numbers at the end of the stream because apparently he is some kind of genius in that respect. So I don't really want to start on a negative. I really want to start with what was a brilliant drive from Daniel Ricciardo. But actually, do you know what? Jonty, stuff it, yeah. What a drive from Daniel Ricciardo when you consider... I know the safety car helped him out, but that overtaking, that move on Bottas in particular, I mean, wow.
Yeah, I mean, the safety car was a real gift to him, but he still had to make the passes on the track. And even with the fresher tyres, it was going to be tricky, and he just made it look easy.
It's, like you say, safety car, it helped him out, but at the end of the day, all of those were on-track overtakes, weren't they? I mean, the one on the really late one, was it on Hamilton at the hairpin? So much happened in that space of time, but that move at the hairpin, so far back, fantastic move. I guess that's how you do it properly. We'll come on to that in just a moment, but... is that move on Bottas? Bottas goes to defend, and you go back a week, and Bottas is saying, I saw Vettel start to move to defend. I'm not going to go for it. And Daniel Ricciardo, Bottas goes to defend, and he goes, you do that if you want, mate. I'm coming through whether you move or not. So it's probably best you get out of the way, but brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Well-deserved as well, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's such a popular guy. Everyone loves him. And just look at the reactions from the crowd. They were going nuts on the podium. It's great.
Great. So he got the shoey, of course, as well. But if somebody had said to me, even yesterday, let alone 30 laps into the race, that we were going to have a podium that looked like that, I'd have laughed right in their face, Jonty. 30 laps in, yeah, Bottas looking good for the win, Vettel probably second. I think Hamilton was third at the time as well, wasn't he? It was looking good, and then, yeah, it just all went to pot, really, and we got a little bit of drama Bahrain style, but I suppose we better jump onto the elephant in the room. I'm going to clarify, if you're new to the channel, because I've seen a few joining and there's quite a few viewers as well, which is great to see for a second week in a row. If you are new to the channel, we are completely unbiased and we just give an honest opinion. So don't think we're hating on Hamilton, we're hating on Vettel, or we're hating on Verstappen. It is nothing like that. It is just complete honesty based on what we've seen. I mean, let's be honest, John, over the last few weeks, we've praised Hamilton and Vettel and Verstappen probably equally, haven't we? So just one of those things today.
Yeah, and it was plain for everyone to see who was at fault, who was suffering for whatever reason, and who made it work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, where should we start? We'll start with the one with Hamilton, actually, because that kind of put Verstappen in that position, didn't it? That he really had to start, or some argue maybe he put himself in that position. How did you see the Hamilton incident? Because for me, if I'm being completely honest, that was his corner. Yes, the gap was there on the outside, but it was a real risk. And, Verstappen, if he calms down a little bit later in the race, maybe down at the hairpin like his teammate does, he's got a much easier pass. I don't think he needed to take that risk.
No, he didn't. All he had to do was just sit there, wait for the straight, and it was going to be very easy coming into the hairpin. But what Hamilton did was completely out of order. That wasn't a controlling a snap of oversteer or anything like that. That was a deliberate little, oi, don't try that. It was way out of line and a bit of a bitter Mardy bum from Bahrain.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen any onboard with Hamilton. I think I've seen Verstappen's onboard, and he does seem to drift over quite a bit, Hamilton. But could you argue maybe that corner, like I said, that corner, that move is never going to happen, even with Verstappen? Is Hamilton doing wrong there, or is he just sort of coming across and just giving him the warning, or do you think maybe he should have used his head and not given that warning? I guess is what I'm trying not, I'm trying not to get too, about it. But I mean,
it would have been easy for him to just run a wider line.
yeah,
It was a sudden, real sharp jump over, which made Max sort of jump out of it and go off. We just don't need that.
No, I mean, Verstappen did have to correct his car, didn't he, with Hamilton's movement, definitely. And I will say as well, can I say this, because it really annoyed me. It's so hard not to swear when you wound up after a race, Jonty. I was quite wound up with Crofty today. Oh, contact again, they've touched again. There was no bloody contact there. What is he on? Does he watch the race? I know he's got about 16 screens to watch, but there was never any contact there.
Crofty was getting it wrong all race. He even commentated through the entire overtake that Ocon performed, saying it was Perez.
Yeah.
He's got a bright fluorescent pink helmet. It's not hard to tell them apart.
I don't know. There was no contact there. A little bit as well, I suppose. Hamilton, for me, at that point in that corner, why, given what happened in Bahrain, and he quite clearly blames Verstappen for that, what happened in Bahrain, why then risk more contact by making that move? His tyres are gone. He's a 4-time world champion. I'm probably going to say the same about Vettel a little bit later on, but he's a 4-time world champion. There's no way he's going to be able to fend off a Red Bull with a racy Verstappen in that situation. Why not just not let him go, but just think, I'm not going to win this. There's no point risking contact. I need the points. My championship rival is P2 at that point. I need to be focused. Let him go for his move, but don't close him off. Don't try and run him wide. He goes off, does what he has to do, probably hits somebody else anyway. I just don't think Hamilton needed to make the move. But of course, the bigger move was all down at the hairpin, wasn't it, with Sebastian Vettel? We discussed it on DMs on Discord, Jonty. I put the blame firmly 110% at Verstappen's door. For me, yes, there's a gap there. And I'm sure I'm now going to get bombarded in the chat and with comments after this with the famous Senna quote. The gap was there, but the corner was done. And Sebastian Vettel, that was his corner. The move was never going to happen. His tyres, he could see Vettel was struggling. He's come out after the race and said, I saw he was struggling on his tyres. Why? I mean, actually, before we go any further, I have to give him credit. He has taken full responsibility for it since the race. Did hear an interview just before we came on, but why is he not just being a little... I know he's an aggressive driver, Jonty, but why not be a little bit more composed in that situation and wait a corner or two?
Yeah, he did need to just not die for every little gap, especially in that situation. The race win was on a plate for him. Yeah. It really was. There was nothing the guys in front were going to be able to do. And he just goes for literally every gap. As people have been saying in the chat, he's sort of following the start of Senna, although Senna was much better. But he did give that feel. Everyone knew after a couple of years, he's coming. If I don't get out of the way, he's going to hit me. It worked in Senna's favour. It's not working in Verstappen's favour at the moment.
No, I suppose the problem for Verstappen now is he's got the likes of Hamilton on the grid that when they need to be, can be equally as aggressive, can't they? And sort of shut the door and say, get lost, little boy, almost in a way, the way they sort of talk about it. I feel he's going to get a lot of stick over the next few days. And obviously what happened in Bahrain is going to make that worse. I just don't... Is composure going to come with age? I mean, he's only 20, but, he's been in Formula One now, what? 3-4 years, is it now? Can we still use that? He's still 20. He's a fairly experienced driver in terms of the number of years he's been in F1 compared to, say, a Leclerc, who was all over the place this weekend again, Gasly, or a Stroll, or an Ocon, or somebody like that. So... can we blame age, or do we have to look at it as more experience? 4th year, people are saying in chat. So that's 4 years in the sport, Jonty.
Yeah, he should be more experienced than this by now. He's made so many mistakes. Even in his first season, he did pretty much the same thing, but with catastrophic results, as we saw hitting Grosjean in Monaco. That was a mess, and that was a big shunt for him.
Yeah,
that should have been the wake-up call straight away, saying, I need to be careful because I could get hurt. And it still hasn't sunk in yet.
There's nothing wrong with aggressive drivers at all, is there? We want to see people going for the gap, but there has to be a balance there as a racing driver. But as I said about Hamilton at the same time, Vettel at that point knew he was never going to keep Verstappen behind him why not just leave that maybe not. It's his corner. This is the only thing that I'm sort of arguing myself about. But why not just leave a little bit more space? And if Verstappen's going to go for it, just let him go for it. You know, for Vettel, he's ahead of his championship rival. You know, we can talk about Bottas's great race and Ricciardo and Raikkonen. The fact is, it is most likely going to be Vettel versus Hamilton for this title. He's ahead of him. He's got Hamilton in his pocket in terms of psychologically at the moment. And then, I don't know. But at the same time, like I say, it's his corner, isn't it? Why should he have to give it up? But I just wonder if there needs to be a little bit more composure from the top guys as well, in a way.
Yeah, well, in this situation, Vettel needed to think about the championship. He knows Max is going to be aggressive. And I think a little bit of him tried to play on that, tried to play the system. Because you look at it, there was more than a car's width of room left on the outside. He didn't have to come in quite so tight. I think he kind of almost wanted the contact just so that Verstappen would get a penalty, get some points on his super license, maybe learn a bit. It did seem just a bit of gamesmanship, and he needs to look at the big picture a bit more. We've seen this in the past from him as well.
Yeah. TD Emmanuel, it was Vettel's corner, you clown. First of all, thank you very much, mate. But secondly, yes, it was, as I've just said 3 times in this stream already, and we're only, a few minutes in. But the point we're making is, do these drivers need to just be aware that Max is there and that he's going to be aggressive and he's going to make this move? You know, that's the point being made. If people don't see that, that's their problem, I guess. But at the end of the day, it is his corner. If you're talking, I don't know. I'm really torn on it because I think it's so easy for us to sit here, Jonty, and say Vettel should have done this, Verstappen should have done that, Hamilton shouldn't have done this, whoever should have done whatever. These are split-second decisions, aren't they? And Verstappen has said as well, by the way, he locked his rears. Very difficult to believe that, given that we were told for a week that it was 150 brake horsepower surge in turn 2 in Bahrain, and it turned out that it wasn't. But, yeah.
Yeah, it was 150 horsepower surge in his foot.
Yeah, that was what they came out and said. But do we just have to remember that sometimes when we're getting angry, Jonty, that this is split-second decisions and you live by the sword and you die by the sword, I guess?
Yeah, because I say it's all well and good for me to sit here saying he should have been thinking a bit more bigger picture, think about the championship, not just the race. But I'm sure it's very, very difficult to do so in the car.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, it is only the 3rd race of the season, isn't it? So, yeah, you know, do they really need to be worrying too much about championship position now? I mean, teams in the midfield do. We're going to come on to Haas a little bit later on because some brief team orders there. But, you know.
Well, saying that, it seems like Ferrari themselves are already thinking about it.
Yeah, we do need to come on to Raikkonen, don't we? In a few. I'll tell you what, we'll just round off quickly with Verstappen and Vettel and Verstappen and Hamilton. With, I guess, one question I want to put to you. Does Verstappen need to change his driving style? Or do people just need to accept that that is how he drives?
They've accepted it from other drivers. I think a lot of people are making an issue about it just because he's so young and has been hyped up so much.
I think part of me does feel a bit for him. When he came into sport, I don't know if you can remember, any people in chat might remember, people watching, when he first came in, he got a lot of flack because he was so young, didn't he? You know, Alonso was quite vocal about it, and we shouldn't have kids in the sport like this, it's not right, it's not safe for us, not safe for them. It kind of proved them wrong, but then it's easy to forget that when he goes and does what he did this weekend. You know, I'll still maintain Bahrain was a racing incident. I'm never going to put anybody to blame for that one, but this one, 100% Verstappen's fault. But I think changing his driving style would be a detriment to us as fans and for the next generation coming through, I guess, you know, the next lot of Verstappens, we want to see aggressive racing. We want to see people going for that gap. But what we don't want to see is over-aggression that leads to, for example, today, Verstappen getting a 10-second time penalty, but somehow still ending up ahead of Vettel and being better off than he was after the incident.
Yeah, well, I suppose we could call that a little bit of payback for Baku.
Maybe, yeah.
No, maybe he should have to change his style. Maybe some drivers should accept it. Like I said, other drivers have been far more aggressive than him in the past, and it was just accepted. People just dealt with it. They raced against him in a different way, knowing that he was going to go too deep, go wide, never have the chance to attack them again.
Just in a comment in chat from Gianni, says, people comparing Verstappen to Kvyat, but I have never seen moments of genius from Kvyat, but I have done from Verstappen. That's the thing, isn't it? You know, I don't know why there's this comparison. I think it's just the fact that he replaced him, so there's always going to be an inevitable link there, isn't there? But, you know, for all his negative moments, he is bloody brilliant when he wants to be. And we want to see that. And I love that from him. You know, he is a hothead and he is aggressive, but hopefully with age, that'll come. You know, look back to Vettel in his early years. He made plenty of mistakes. Hamilton in his early years in F1, very aggressive at times, but look at what they've kind of achieved. So maybe this is just something he will, I hate saying grow out of because it sounds really condescending, but you know what I mean, kind of mature in the sport.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was chatting on someone with Twitter who was making the comparison to Gilles Villeneuve, who made a lot of mistakes despite being one of the fastest drivers we've ever had. And it's a scary comparison because those mistakes cost Gilles his life. That was his very aggressive, angry style that led to that. A lot of people are saying Max is going to cause an incident where people are going to get injured. I don't think it's that much of an issue now because the cars are so safe, but it's something that has to be thought about.
Yeah, and like you say, you go back to when F1 was a damn sight more dangerous. You said Villeneuve there, even back to Schumacher's years. Not that long ago, F1 was a lot more dangerous than it is now, and the aggression there was just so much more. You know, Verstappen's late into the hairpin, bad call. He's admitted that it was a mistake. The gap wasn't there. You know, Vettel left the door open on the apex, but that's the apex of the corner. The corner's already gone. It's an error. But you look at stuff Schumacher in Hungary a few years ago on Barrichello, that's nothing to do with gaps closing or anything like that, is it? That's true aggression. This was just a mistake. But I guess to finish on Verstappen, how many more times can we call it just a mistake or say it's just his age before maybe something does need to be, not done, but maybe Red Bull need to sit him down and just have a word?
It's certainly going to happen this year. Can definitely say that. It's cost them a lot of points several times.
Yeah, it's 8 points today it's cost them, and in what could be quite a tight fight in the midfield. I still think they'll be comfortably top three, but what could potentially end up as a tight fight, if they keep costing themselves points like that, they could miss out on possibly picking off Ferrari, who we're going to move on to in literally just a second, who decided to prioritise somebody today, and it kind of backfired a little bit. But, you know, they could lose championship positions here, and yeah, I guess, are they backing the wrong driver as well? Ricciardo again winning, keeping his head, brilliant overtaking, and he's the one out of contract at the end of the year, and Verstappen's the one they want to build the team around.
Yeah, that's true.
That's maybe it. We'll come on to that another day. That's definitely one for another day.
I'm already thinking.
Yeah, because tinfoil hats on, people. Yeah, let's jump on to Ferrari. I actually tweeted during the race, Crofty is determined that Ferrari are going to play these team strategies. He was driving me crackers today, Crofty was. He's all right, but he's sometimes just, yeah. Quite clearly, Ferrari prioritising Raikkonen today, compromising his strategy. It's too early in the season to be doing this, isn't it, John T? I'm not gonna sit here and say yes, they should be backing Vettel at this. They shouldn't. It's 3 races into the season. It's just stupid to be doing that.
Yeah, it's completely unnecessary, especially when those two are so close. I mean, look, the pair of them were so much further ahead at the front in qualifying, and the race pace looked good as well. There's absolutely no need for them to be doing this, and I think there will be a lot of angry Ferrari fans because a lot of the Ferrari fans are there for Kimi, not for Sebastian.
Yeah. Looking at the race as a whole, you know, people in chat have said they feel a bit sorry for Vettel today, and he has lost out big time, but Ferrari messed the strategy up. Completely messed it up today. If they'd have pulled Vettel in more quickly or Raikkonen in more quickly, they could have maybe, you know, earlier than Mercedes, not allowed Mercedes to pull that trigger. Vettel is nowhere near Verstappen at that point in the race. Yes, the safety car would still have been deployed because of what the Toro Rossos did between them. But Ferrari threw this one away for me.
Yeah, this is a lot of what they did last year. There was several times last year when other people got the pit stops going and forced other teams to jump who did, and they all did better than Ferrari in those situations. It's all well and good when Ferrari lead the strategy. It always seems to work out for them. But when someone else sort of gets things rolling, Ferrari are very slow to react.
It's not a new thing, is it? It cost them a title in 2010, of course. Or not slow reactions, wrong strategy call. But they were just wrong today with their whole strategy. The race was in the bag after qualifying. You know, okay, Red Bull probably, if you take all the incidents out of the race and just say we ended up with a safety car, Red Bull probably would have at least won the race, maybe a 1-2. But that's still Ferrari 2 cars ahead of Mercedes, who absolutely trumped them on strategy today. But, you know, you say they've made a mistake with Vettel, they've not reacted quickly enough, but they then, following that, decide, oh, I know what we're going to do. Let's completely screw our race over. Let's mess up Raikkonen's strategy and put him on the most... What a stupid strategy that is. Those tyres were gone. He's overtaken by Bottas, which means as soon as he makes his stop, he's a pit stop behind him. So whatever Bottas does at that point, Raikkonen isn't going to finish ahead of him. That was just a stupid call. And it's all this, you know, let's use Raikkonen to slow him down. Just reminded me today of Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello and Michael Schumacher and Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, very much so. It was almost cynical in the way they did it. I mean, even in fully dry conditions, you still got the rule of be on the right tyres at the right time. If your tyres are completely dead, what the hell are you going to do trying to stretch it out even further?
This is the thing. The cliff that we've had in China over the last few years, you know, historically it's shown us that once they go off the cliff, you'd be quicker pitting than you would struggling to the end on those tyres. And that's what those at the front have struggled with today, is the cliff on those mediums. There was no pace in those Mercedes or Ferraris at the end of this race, and Hamilton's quite lucky that Verstappen didn't pull out a 10-second gap, to be honest. If he'd have got past Raikkonen and Bottas quickly, he could have been 10 seconds up the road from Hamilton, and that's P4 for Verstappen. You know, yes, they were able to make that strategy call because of the safety car, but given the position Red Bull were in, I'm pretty sure they would have gone for the 2-stop anyway. Why not take the fight to them?
Yeah, exactly. Brundle was saying during the race that these guys have given up track position to get the fresh tyres. Well, in a lot of places, that would be the wrong thing to do. I mean, it will all be about track position, places like Australia, Monaco, Hungary. But here, you can overtake, and we know how hard China is on the tyres. It's always got to be about getting those fresh tyres, even if they'd have ended up 8th and 9th after a round of pit stops following behind the safety car. It still would have been a better strategy for them.
Yeah, I can't help but feel for Kimi this year. He was brilliant in Australia in qualifying, very unlucky with the virtual safety car. He was very good in Bahrain, unlucky with his pit stop. Fantastic again right up until the end of Q3. Looked like he had his teammate well and truly behind him, and then he's used like that. You know, if he turned up to Australia, Jonty, and he was a second a lap slower than Vettel, nowhere near the pace, I'd completely understand them doing this. But this year he's come out and he's quick, and he's a match for Vettel.
Yeah, exactly. It's just unfair on him. It really is. I mean, we're almost sounding like a bit of Kimi fanboys here, but everyone should be a Kimi fanboy. Let's be honest, he's awesome. But it really is just typical Ferrari. That's the only way to say it.
I understand team orders. We've discussed it before on streams. You know, team orders are fine when you get to the last 5-6 races. Your second driver is nowhere near winning the title. Fine, get him out of the way. You know, that's absolutely. But 3 races in, it's just so unnecessary. And, you know, look at what Bottas is doing. You know, he had a bad weekend in Australia. Bounced back well in Bahrain, should have been more aggressive. Was a bit more aggressive today. Gets P2, unlucky not to get the win in many ways. He's showing what a teammate should be doing at this stage of the season and making sure, and Mercedes are doing the same, making sure they get as many points on the board, get that Constructors' Championship sorted, and then start messing about with your drivers.
Yeah, I get get the feeling that Ferrari are just prioritising the Drivers' Championship. They're doing everything to make sure they get that because it's been so long since they had one.
Yeah.
Which is completely idiotic because, well, more comes from the constructors. All the money comes from the constructors.
Well, you say all the money. Let's not get back into that one. They get paid quite a bit either way. So, yeah, we'll talk about Bottas because I actually was quite critical of him through the winter. Was very critical of him after Australia. Felt he could have been more aggressive in Bahrain. I'm going to praise the guy this time round just to show, we do look at both sides of the argument here. He was actually really good today. Should have won the Grand Prix, you could probably argue. Kind of, to be honest, daring to say this, given the backlash I'm probably going to get in the comments after this video or in the chat, pretty much had Hamilton in his pocket all weekend.
Oh, easily. Hamilton was nowhere near a match for him. Both in all the practices and in qualifying and in the race. There's not like we were saying last week that something up. Bottas has seized on that and is making his bid for the lead seat.
I actually, I sent it to you in DMs. Actually, if you're on Twitter, you'll see the part of the conversation we were having. But I did say, how long before Mercedes maybe do prioritise Bottas? I don't think they will for a second, but, he keeps this up. He's looking good. I mean, again, Hamilton will bounce back. I know we keep talking about he doesn't seem quite right in his demeanour at the moment. Seems a bit miserable, which, given the start to the season he's had, to be fair, I can completely understand. But Bottas keeping his head down, getting on with it, staying consistent. Yeah, I think once that Constructors' Championship's out of the way, there might be a decision to be made by Mercedes. But as I say, I think Hamilton will probably catch him and be well past him soon, to be fair.
Well, everyone's going to still be hoping that. And everyone will still be thinking that. But until it happens, I'm not entirely sure it will.
The strange one with Hamilton, we need to be not careful what we say, but maybe some people need to be careful to what they listen to. It's probably the better way to put it. But he wasn't right in Bahrain. People are coming out saying, "Oh no, he was happy and he was smiling and he's the happiest I've seen him in ages." Those people really need to get their eyes tested and listen to what we're saying. He was miserable in Bahrain. Okay, gearbox penalty, can understand it. He did look a little bit happier when he turned up to China. I'll give him that. But as the weekend went on, he realised they're not really going to be that close to Ferrari. If everything had gone their way today, Ferrari, then they wouldn't have been. But just looks miserable, moaning on the radio again today, not happy. I know he's under pressure. I know he's a passionate guy and he wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's why maybe all the drivers are a bit moany behind closed doors and we don't see it. Hamilton's quite happy, a little bit like Vettel, to come over team radio and have that moan, but he doesn't look right. Something's not quite right. I have no doubt it will click. We're going to have a race. We have this in his career. You look back through his career, couple of races, bit miserable, turns up to the next one and he just blows everyone out of the water by a second and a half and we all go, oh, okay, fair enough. But he doesn't look right, does he?
No, I was just about to say, we've seen it in the past, but it's only ever really been for one race. He comes back the following weekend and is just in a different league. But this is 2 races in a row. And Australia wasn't perfect. So I'm worried that he might not come back from this one.
I think for me, he was down after Australia, wasn't he? Because of the virtual safety car situation. He had that race pretty much under control. Bahrain, gearbox penalty probably puts you, I can imagine as a driver, would put you in quite a bad mood at the start of the weekend if you know that news anyway. Then what happened with Verstappen, it's more his team radio than anything. When you listen to the way he's talking to the team, it's very different to how he was talking to them even in Australia, not that long ago. It's very, we're doing a great job, guys, this is fantastic, but he just, I don't know, I'm not very good at reading people. John T is Mr. Predictions. You think you thought he was going to retire at the end of this year. It didn't look likely when he was set to sign that contract in January, February. But I really do wonder if maybe the decision's not made, but that thought has entered his mind.
It could well have done. I've just seen something in the comments saying he's got a couple of weeks off now. It's not a back-to-back session. True. So maybe that little bit of extra time will give him the chance to sort it out. But yeah, He's never been this down since 2007 when he came in. He's never looked this low. That's what the concern is.
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
even over the radio, 2016 in Abu Dhabi, he didn't sound this depressed.
No. He was angry, wasn't he, in that one more than anything? Just, shut up, leave me alone. This is my championship. I don't want to lose it. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on, I think, with Hamilton. But great point in the comments there. That really was a great point. Couple of weeks now. Go away, take a few days, clear your head, start again. Is Baku Europe? Do we count Baku as Europe? I think we do, don't we? It was the European Grand Prix a couple of years ago, but the European season starts now, so maybe things will be a bit easier. The flyaways can't be easy for a driver because you are away from everybody, aren't you, for a good 5 weeks? So yeah, let's see Baku. I mean, I'm not going to read too much into it at the minute, just keeping an eye on it. Same with a lot of things, Come Silverstone, I think it's going to be the big test, and yeah, I'm only saying that because I'm going, because I want it to be a good race. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on over the next few weeks. On team orders, Bottas, sorry, I'm all over the place. Bottas, have to give him credit. That in-lap and that out-lap after the pit stops were incredible.
Yeah, that's what turned his race around. He was, you heard him on the radio, all they said was, give it everything now. He certainly gave it everything. It was make it stick or he was flying off into the gravel. There was no in between.
Yeah. You were doing the numbers during the race. It was 2.7 seconds behind Vettel before the pit stop, was it? Something like that?
Yeah, it was around that. And then to come out, a good second in front was stunning. But it just showed how powerful the undercut here is in China.
Yeah.
Because the track's so abrasive.
Also, massive credit as well to Red Bull for their double pit stops. That is brilliant. We've had some rough pit stops this last few weeks, obviously, and a lot of criticism around them. That's how you do it, quick and very impressive.
Well, the story of Red Bull's weekend has been the garage.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
qualifying, doing a mammoth job of rebuilding Danny Rick's car to get him out for qualifying with 2 minutes left, which was just insane. And then, like you say, 2 lots of double stack pit stops without a glitch at all. It's just amazing. They won that. They won this race, let's be honest.
It is quite a turnaround, isn't it?
Very much eggs all in one basket.
A hell of a gamble, but when it works, it's fantastic. And I was just going to say there, massive credit to Red Bull mechanics all weekend. Quite a turnaround. Nearly not out for qualifying. Gets out, puts in a lap that I think was a brilliant lap given the pressure he was under and how little time he'd had to prepare out on track for it, and then goes on and wins the blooming race. So if I were Red Bull right now, I'd be dragging Daniel Ricciardo into a room and going, right, what do you want and where do we sign, quite frankly, because he should be in that team and he should not be going to Ferrari to play the game that Raikkonen had to play today.
No, exactly. Red Bull did a classic go big or go home today, and they certainly went big.
Yeah, just having a look at chat, see if anyone wants to say anything on those. But I'll tell you what we'll talk about. We're on team orders. Haas. I just want to make a quick point. I tweeted, some of you follow me on Twitter will have seen it, quite a few liked it. Romain Grosjean, come on, it's something, lap 6. Is the answer to that not drive faster than Romain?
Yeah, considering he was on the quicker tyre.
I've just been slating Ferrari for team orders, but when it comes to the midfield, they need to be team orders and make sure they get both cars to the finish all season, because it is going to be so tight in there. And a team like Haas, who had a rocky start in Australia in the end with what happened to them, Yeah, Magnussen was my one to watch today. He only finished 10th despite only 1 stop, so a little bit disappointed with him and the pace in the Haas overall. But Grosjean's moaning that the team have told him to get out of the way. He's holding up his teammate. He's on the faster tyre, and just get on with it then. If you're not happy having to play team orders, put your foot down or pit and put some faster tyres on. So, yeah, there's not really much to read into that. But Haas, are they falling back already, do you think, Jonty? Or was this just one of those races where maybe this isn't their track?
And it's kind of hard to say on that one because they still are quite quick. Despite what the qualifying results might say, they were pretty close to being up there. I think they're going to be suffering the fact that a big story this year is going to be drivers who were a bit iffy at the end of last year turning it around.
Yeah.
You got to look at Raikkonen, Bottas, Magnussen. They were all the ones that were a bit iffy towards the end of last year, making mistakes, not being very quick. The start of this year, all of a sudden, all of them are just right up there. I think this could be a big story of the whole year.
You look at Hulkenberg, I have to say this, he doesn't get a lot of credit for what he does, Nico Hulkenberg. He really doesn't. Sixth today, fantastic result. Yeah, looked in with the Verstappen-Vettel incident. Sainz ninth, Alonso seventh. Again, great race pace from McLaren. Force India looking stronger this weekend. I think Haas are going to really... They need to get their drivers either working together or they need to bring just team orders in permanently. And that makes me a hypocrite based on what we're saying for Ferrari, but this isn't for the title. This is for big money for a team like Haas. You know, you said it after... Was it Australia, I think, when you said that, you know, Renault and some of the midfield teams need to be working together to try and take as many points as they can in this fight. And I think that's what Haas need to be sorting out. You know, these drivers don't seem to get on very well. They nearly had a moment in Bahrain. You know, and then there's team orders today. I think the right call. I think Kevin Magnussen's been absolutely fantastic. The start of the season, Grosjean absolutely nowhere. He's on the faster tyre, like we say. I don't really understand what the issue is. If I were in Gunter Steiner's position, I'd have made exactly the same call.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the only call to make. You always have to go with whatever's fastest. I just think Haas, Renault, Force India, it might not make for the greatest racing, but when their drivers are together, they should be running this like a cycling peloton. Just keep swapping positions between them, drag each other around. It saves each other's tyres, gets them further up the grid and takes points from the top teams. That's what they need to do. And then in a couple of years' time, they're all suddenly getting more money than they used to. They can develop a lot more. And we end up with an incredible season with everyone within 2 seconds of each other, maybe even 1 second.
Yeah, completely agree with that. And I have to say, how times changed, Jonty. I think we both were pretty critical, we'll put it that way, of Kevin Magnussen through the winter. And I think he's going to get a hell of a lot of praise from us this year because he has been brilliant so far. So, yeah, never write him off.
Yeah, exactly. We were very harsh after Abu Dhabi with his just throwing it sideways all by himself. But he's really come back strong.
He has, and a lot of people saying that Grosjean was the better driver last year and probably the better driver overall. I think that's been tested now, and that's good to see. Ocon beat Perez for 11th, forcing him to look a bit stronger. That is good to see. One team who looked not great, but I have to say, I don't know if it was cooler temperatures in qualifying, looked a little bit better with Williams, but still a million miles away from where they should be. But did they look a little bit better to you this weekend?
They were definitely better. Stroll's first lap was astonishing.
Yeah.
But there's still no real race pace in that car and no qualifying pace, which is just going to constantly cause them problems. If the drivers manage to really pick things up, it's still not going to amount to anything because the car's so terrible.
No, and a great lap in qualifying from Sirotkin. He wasn't far from getting out of Q1, which sounds, again, I said in qualifying report yesterday, sounds really condescending. I'm not being genuinely, just given where they were a week ago, that would be a huge step for them. So I think they're looking better. I don't see them improving much more. I still think probably 9th in the Constructors. I think those points from Toro Rosso have pretty much condemned them to that now because I can't see Williams getting 12 points this season. Yeah, but on Toro Rosso, kind of back down to earth with a bump is, understatement of the year, maybe.
Yeah, from what I've read with statements they made, it was sort of a massive miscommunication. They were going to be swapping positions for the strategy. It was actually Hartley's call, from what I've read in some places, saying, should I let him through? And then it all just went to pot.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, that incident brought out the safety car as well, didn't it? It was an odd one. I think it does sound like it was a miscommunication. That's what team radio seems to imply and what we've heard since the race as well. So, yeah.
Oh,
don't read it. Don't read it. Don't read it. I saw it on Twitter earlier as well. I was like, no, don't show Jonty that. Tinfoil hat on, mate.
Yeah. But it's worth remembering on the Williams result that the Toro Rossos would have been in front of them.
Yeah, true.
More than likely.
Yeah.
So maybe it looks a bit better for Williams than it actually is.
Are we looking at a situation with Toro Rosso then, that this was just a track that didn't suit their car, or are they just got a car that is going to be suited to very specific tracks in very specific circumstances in terms of weather conditions and things? Or is this car actually at that pace that we saw this weekend?
Well, the bizarre thing is, if it is track specific, then you've got a Toro Rosso with a Honda in it that seems to work better at very, very hot locations, which is completely illogical. Baku, we probably won't see it, but Spain, when we get there, that could really show if it is actually that quick or if it's just track specific. If we still get them down the bottom in Baku, it's not that quick.
I'm not looking forward to Baku. I know we had a great race there last year, but I think we're going to be pretty much back to 2016 levels there. One man I want to talk about is a guy that I've been putting this off because I wanted to give him a chance. It's only 3 races into his career. We were singing his praises after his F2 season last year, but Charles Leclerc, really, really scruffy start to his F1 career.
Yeah, he's not enjoying that Sauber. Admittedly, it looks like a bit of a handful, but Ericsson's making it work. Whether that's just experience or not, I'm not sure. Ericsson's a very, very experienced driver by this point, but Leclerc should be doing better than this.
Yeah, I mean, he's young, he's new to the sport. Like I said, the car's not brilliant, but I expected a little bit more from him. Early days, of course, long way to go this season. Sauber are going to improve, we've already seen that, and those points in Bahrain, big step for them as well. We said that last week, so we'll see with Leclerc. I'll give him the same as I've given pretty much every rookie in F1. You know, first season, it's a learning curve. Second season, that's when we're probably going to criticise you because you're kind of running out of excuses at that point. But yeah, no, he was a long way off his teammate as well. 20 seconds today, so yeah, had the spin though, of course, didn't he? Which will account for quite a bit of that.
Yeah, although maybe you should go to rallying because he did manage to cope with that gravel pretty well.
Yeah, he got out, which could have won out a safety car if he got stuck there as well. So, yeah, let's have a look at chat to see what people are saying. Yeah, I'm not going to read that one. We're not going over conspiracy theories in this one because we just won't stop. But very briefly, just to keep the chat happy and to keep you happy, John, I know you love them. There was a big Haas conspiracy apparently in Australia that enabled Ferrari to win. Yeah, big Toro Rosso conspiracy this time to let Red Bull win, of course.
No, I don't see that.
There isn't.
Even if it was a possibility, there's no way they could guarantee a safety car. And I think Red Bull have got far too much stake into the Toro Rosso team for the development of that Honda engine to risk losing the cars. They need every meter of data they possibly can to make sure it's perfect for when Red Bull inevitably end up with it.
I just love reacting. Obviously, we got it in the chat there, the conspiracy theory, but social media going crazy on it as ever. Why teams can't just get the credit for winning a race and capitalising on a safety car and a good strategy call, I have no idea. Why everything Ferrari or Red Bull has to involve a conspiracy is beyond me, but as much as I don't believe them, I do enjoy reading them as well, so keep them coming, because we do enjoy them, don't we, John T?
Oh, absolutely, I love them. It's more fun just trying to make it fit.
Yeah, very true. Let's try to look now. Looking through that order. Good bounce back from McLaren. They can't seem to get that qualifying right, can they? I've got this feeling with McLaren. I think I said it last week. If they get qualifying right, they could be quite strong in races, but I think they're putting themselves on the back foot on a Saturday. But race pace, certainly for Alonso. Not so much for Van Dorn today, for whatever reason. I've not seen anything, I don't know if anybody else has, but looks better for them.
Yeah, the race pace is really there. You can tell that from Alonso. I mean, he's not far behind Hülkenberg. 9 seconds might be considered a long way, but there's not 7 seconds between Raikkonen and Hamilton, so it's not that big a gap.
Yeah. I don't know how many mods are in chat. I don't think ST is here, which will be good. I'm going to do what I'm going to do every week on these now. Oh dear. Yeah, this didn't work very well last week, and I got in a lot of trouble with the mods, but that's kind of part of the reason I love doing this. One surname, then, people in the chat. Who was your driver of the day? I'm sorry, Racing. I really am. Jonty, who was your driver of the day today? ST's back and he's not happy, but yeah.
Hulkenberg.
Yeah. He just slip under the radar, doesn't he, does Nico Hulkenberg, quite a bit.
Yeah, well, he always ends up in those positions that don't get talked about. Everyone talks about the podium and the people who just miss it, and everyone talks about the people scrapping for the last points. When you're sort of 6th, 7th, maybe 8th, not really a lot happens.
No, it's true, isn't it? Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I know Vettel's tyres were finished, but he's finished ahead of him, hasn't he? Yeah, I think as much as I would want to give it to Ricciardo because of those overtakes, I'm going to say Bottas. Because the strategy was spot on. His out lap, he was exactly what they asked him to do. So was his in lap. Absolutely brilliant. And if it weren't for that safety car, he would have won this race. He was holding Vettel off, and I think he deserves a bit of credit for that. The problem is, Ricciardo's overtakes were so incredible that he's bound to get... I think he did get driver of the day in the end. But for me, I'm going to give it to Bottas, I think.
Yeah, that's a fair argument. Looking at the chat, I think it's overwhelmingly for Ricciardo.
Yeah. Oh, you can understand. Like I say, his drive was brilliant. Fastest lap, won the race. All the overtakes were done on track. But I just think without the safety car, Bottas probably would have got driver of the day because he was solid today. He was really good. Like I say, that in lap and that out lap, exactly what he needed to do. 2.7 second turnaround. In fact, it was more, wasn't it? Because he was about a second up the road, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You're talking 3.7 plus.
Yeah, and someone just mentioned in the chat his management of the safety car at the restart was brilliant. No one was anywhere near him. He got that absolutely perfect.
I'm getting middle finger emojis being sent to me on DMs in Discord right now from the moderators. I've got to give people their say. That's part of this channel. We like to involve people as much as possible. So before we jump into a quick Q&A then, Jonty, what are you expecting for Baku? Are we going to have another good weekend, or do you think we're going to end up back to 2016 levels?
I've got a feeling it's going to be more like 2017. With midfield being so close, there's just going to be so much chance for incident.
Jack Kelly's made a contribution. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that. He says, early team orders from Ferrari on Danny Rick's mind. That is a question I was going to come to a scene a little bit earlier, but I'll give that one to you, mate. It's a very good point. If you're Daniel Ricciardo, Jonty, and you see that, do you really want to move to Ferrari?
I wouldn't. Despite it being Ferrari, and no matter what anyone says, it's going to be on every driver's list to drive for Ferrari in F1. But when you see them making such horrible decisions for the second driver, you're not going to want to go there, especially when you've got the chance to be the lead driver elsewhere.
Yeah. Couple of people asking for a Discord link. There isn't a Discord link, and there won't be for a little while. We had some issues the other day from... Do you know what? It's my stream. I'll say what I want. From complete and total morons, and it's just not worth the hassle at the minute. So we're just sorting a few things out, but we'll get a link back in hopefully towards the middle of next week. So yeah, I feel a bit bad about taking that away because there are people that genuinely want to be part of the community, but unfortunately we have to make sure that idiots, quite frankly and quite simply. Yeah, Baku. I think I worry because last year was so good and 2016 was so dire that maybe last year was one off, but. Should be some good overtaking, obviously, with that long straight and a couple of good other overtaking points. I just wish they could reprofile the track and get rid of that flipping castle section. I know they can't. I'm just saying, in a dream world, that would be widened because that could be quite a nice little sequence of corners when it comes to overtaking down there.
Yeah, that's true. The castle bit is a bit iffy. I mean, you can barely fit two cars in that space, but it does look good.
Yeah. Let's hop into... Q&A and arriving fresh from his own video and his content on his channel. Good morning, Chaz.
Yeah, good morning to all, and what a race that was.
That second half. First half it was boring as sin, wasn't it? It wasn't brilliant. Good strategy in that one, but very quickly, mate, before we start taking questions, what are your thoughts on the Verstappen, Hamilton, Verstappen, Vettel incidents?
with Verstappen and Hamilton, I don't think anyone's directly at fault in terms of someone was pushing one off the other, off the track. I think it's just a racing incident. I think Verstappen got a bit too aggressive. With Vettel, I haven't actually seen the replay. I've only seen the live camera shot. And from the live shot, it looked like a doable overtake, but I didn't see the replay, unfortunately.
No, yeah. Crofty said contact. There was no contact with the Hamilton one. It's like. I think I said earlier, I think Verstappen just needs to just calm down, think, right, I'm not going to get it done in this corner. Let's wait a couple of turns. I'm going to get him anyway. His tyres are gone. There's no need to be doing anything crazy like that. But the Vettel one was just... He said he's not going to calm down. He's taken full responsibility, but still it was just a bit of a stupid move in the end.
He cost himself the race win. He was going to win that race if he did not make those mistakes, with Vettel and Hamilton. It probably would have been a Red Bull 1-2 if he didn't do what he did, but he did it.
That's it, isn't it? It's happened, and there's not really any way to go on from that. He's not going to change his driving style. Part of me thinks that he maybe ought to because he's aggressive, but at the same time, I don't want him to because I want to see this in Formula One. But I'll take a couple of questions from the chat. And I did just get a super chat, actually. I will answer that one first from a real capybara. I always say that wrong. A regular to the streams. Thank you very much for your contribution, mate. That's awesome. He says, awesome streams and amazing videos. Keep up the good work. What do you think of Van Dorn's race? First off, thank you for that, mate. Van Dorn, I said there, his teammate was good today. The pace was there, but he just seemed to be lacking a little bit today, John. So I don't know if he had any problems. I haven't read anything.
No, I've not heard of any problems. It seemed like he just couldn't get the tyres working for what he likes, which was a bit odd. Which is why he was a bit down in qualifying as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to read the last bit, but Pancake says, Ricciardo won. Yes, he did. After last race in Bahrain, there was much talk about minimum pit stop time or Lollipop Man. If we had this during this race, and Red Bull wouldn't get those brilliant pit stops. Any thoughts on that? Fair point. That's the other side to the argument. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll probably go now the rest of the season without any, touch wood, pit stop incidents, and we'll all sort of look back and go, oh, maybe we overreacted a bit. But, that kind of strategy is not going to work because there was, must have been half a second between Verstappen leaving and Ricciardo coming in, a second at most.
Yeah, it was maybe 2 seconds at most.
Yeah, maybe two, thinking about it, looking back in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, it was still pretty close. Neither car had to make an extra braking effort. One went out, the other one came in. There was no sort of stopping between them. So it was just timed perfectly, I think.
Bottas champion this year. Can you see that? Or I think he's got a shout. I've been in with a shot towards the end of the season, but I think I said earlier, I think Hamilton will be too much, and I think Vettel will have a bit too much for him, but he's definitely going to be closer than he was last year, and he wasn't a million miles away.
I think today's result and his performance is encouraging in terms of he wants to go for the title. But as you said, I don't see him being able to put that consistency together to do that.
Yeah, he certainly would have the right to claim a shot at it. But I've got to be honest, a lot of people are going to dislike this, but can you imagine the crying and whining in Brackley?
Yes. MC Claw says Vettel squeeze Kimi at the start too much. Could have been a Singapore 2017 all over again. It was an aggressive squeeze on his teammate, but it was nowhere near as I guess as aggressive as Singapore, was it? It wasn't as aggressive as that. He didn't quite chop him. He kind of just squeezed him over. But did he need to do that at the start, Jonty, to his teammate? They're going to let him through anyway, so...
Yeah, it was a bit vicious. But they're always going to do that right at the start. Why not? It's what we want to see.
Yeah. Great point from Mapleicious. First of all, great name. But people who say Verstappen disqualified, why not Gasly disqualified then?
That incident from Gasly was so stupid. What was he trying to do?
We think it was a miscommunication, don't we, John T? From what we've read since, Hartley was going to let him through and then didn't know if Gasly was going to come and kind of went to take the corner, and it all went a little bit. Yeah, but it was a silly move from him, but equally so from Verstappen in that instance. So I think the point there is, if you're going to say, not you, Chaz, but people are going to say, oh, Verstappen needs to be disqualified, then in that instance, yeah, Gasly should be as well, I guess. But I don't think anybody should be disqualified for that. Did Gasly get a penalty?
Yeah, he got a 10-second penalty.
So they both got penalised, so that's it really, isn't it? It's done and dusted.
Yeah, and all those people saying Verstappen should be disqualified. Don't forget, Vettel didn't get disqualified in Baku last year.
No.
And that was a deliberate hit.
Why not a drive-through penalty then instead of 10-second penalty? What happened to drive-throughs? I thought that sort of thing was a drive-through or stop-go, not a time penalty. I thought time penalties were for minor incidents. I suppose it's a minor incident technically, isn't it? It's not a huge Grosjean style in Spa a few years ago, but still, I mean, yeah.
Maybe they should try and get a set system instead of just trying to pick the thing. It's just, you make contact, but you both keep going 5 seconds. You make contact, the other guy spins 10 seconds. You make contact, it causes a safety car, drive through.
Yeah. And then if you take somebody out and it literally ends their race, then proper stop go. Or black flag in some instances, yeah. I will say though, I give the stewards flack, but I kind of feel like they've been a little bit more consistent the start of this year with penalties and things.
Good.
Chaz, why don't you just get straight to the point?
After the US Grand Prix last year, I was pretty sick of the FIA and their consistency or lack of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what have we had? I'm just trying to think. We had the Haas penalties. They got fined. Ferrari got fined a lot. I read on Twitter somewhere Ferrari get huge €50,000 fine. Ooh. And then there was McLaren got fined this weekend. 10-second penalty for Gasly, 10-second penalty for Verstappen. That's fairly consistent, to be fair. But like you say, Chaz, good.
Yeah, very consistent. Ferrari's penalty fine was only 0.00007 of the money they get for free every year.
So it hit them hard then. No.
Yeah.
I'm going to let Chaz answer this one because we had our say on this one earlier. John T. G-Van says, has Red Bull chosen the wrong driver for their future?
I don't think you can say that because, you have to remember Verstappen's only 20 still. So he's still learning. He's very, very quick, obviously, but he's still learning the ropes and how to lead a big team, how to, compete with the top guys at every Grand Prix still, even though he's been doing it obviously for 2 years now. He's still learning and he's still very young.
Sorry, I thought I saw a question there and then it wasn't aimed at me. It was somebody having a conversation in the chat. Where does the money from fines go? It just goes to the FIA, doesn't it? As far as I know. I don't, yeah.
John Todd's wife, probably.
Okay. Occasional driver says Leclerc spinning again, cracking under the pressure. I said earlier, didn't I? Too early to tell. Give him a few more races. Still early in his career. Give him his first season. Let him learn. And then if he's still doing that come 3 races in next year, then yeah. Jasper Gentry Magnussen for Ferrari. Did we have this in midweek? Somebody asked who was more likely to get it right now, Magnussen or Grosjean. I don't think Magnussen will go to Ferrari because I don't think Ferrari want a super aggressive number 2 driver. But if the decision came down to the 2 of those, I'd take Magnussen.
Right now, you'd have to because Grosjean is just lacking consistency. You can't nail laps together in qualifying or in the races, he's having a very hard time right now. Magnussen, even though he didn't have a good qualifying or race really, and after the safety car, obviously, he's just been getting a lot more out of the car.
Yeah, he definitely has. And right now, if that choice had to be made, it would be a no-brainer.
Yeah. Like I say, I take Magnussen over Grosjean right now. Charles says, was that a better race than Bahrain? I'm going to say no. The second half was brilliant, don't get me wrong, but Bahrain was brilliant start to finish.
No, I'd say Bahrain was better. Even though there was sort of a stint somewhere in the middle where it wasn't full of action, the mystery with all the different strategies going on just kept everyone thinking and talking.
I would say Bahrain just about, because I think that last 20 laps that we had today was probably the best 20 laps we've had in a very long time. Like maybe in 10 or 20 years.
Side lettuce, sorry. Oh, go to Specsavers, Sean. Do you still think a race win is on the cards for any team outside the top three, John T?
Yeah, I do. With the way we've seen the tyres behave today, and people not just not getting the most out of the tyres, but it seemed like a lot of them didn't understand what the medium could do and how long the ultras could or couldn't last. And it caused so many issues for the top teams. You throw in a couple of safety cars, it really could be anyone's race.
Guys?
If McLaren really improve after Barcelona, then I think maybe they could pick up one victory, say in Hungary, Singapore, something like that, where a safety car could come out and really benefit them.
Just seen a question from Shaquille, which I forgot to address earlier. He's surprised at Vettel's reaction over team radio and to the media. Similar to Lewis's attitude last year, wonder if that shows his focus this year. Vettel did not come out screaming and shouting over team radio. He did not come out after the race. He spoke to Verstappen. That for me, I think you said it actually, John T, in DMs. That for me shows that he's got a completely different mindset this year to the one he had last year.
Oh yeah, he's a completely different person. The way he's dealt with this has been fantastic. Also from Verstappen as well, admitting his fault. It was seeing the pair of them talking, getting it all sorted out was just fantastic, and wish we could have some more of that.
I'll come to Chaz for his view on that one in a minute, but try and get your questions in now, mates. Guys, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to take one more from the chat. Chaz, that on Vettel and Verstappen, real different mindset from Vettel this year.
I think the reason he's come with that different mindset is because after he's won the first two races, he knows that this car is absolutely good enough to win the title this year, and he knows he cannot mess it up. So I think he's just not trying to get, bothered with all the, controversy and just focus on winning the title. And Verstappen admitting his fault, it does definitely make a difference, because I did not think he would do that after the race. I thought he would still argue his case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just worth noting Vettel almost was defending Max, because he did come out and saying it's been tricky for all of us coming down into there with a tailwind.
Yeah.
Which it's not just being cool about it, just actually defending him a little bit is just unheard of for Vettel.
Last one today is coming from Bloomy. It's actually quite a good one to end on, given the weekend we've had and the apparent turn in fortunes that we saw in qualifying. Do you think that the Ferrari is the out-and-out fastest car this year, or are they still level with Mercedes? I'll come to you first, Chaz, for that one.
I think right now Ferrari have the fastest car.
Yeah, I think they definitely have. It's been putting in the times in qualifying, and it's got the race pace. Mercedes just can't work it on harder tyres.
Yeah, for me, Ferrari have made a big jump forward over the one lap, but I would still I don't know if that's more because of the driver, though. You know, Hamilton is lapping Australia, for example, over one lap. I think the Merc probably could do it, but Ferrari, there's definitely nothing between them, and I think it's really tough to call who's out and out fastest. But on race pace, Ferrari at least appear at the moment to have the advantage, and of course, that's 3 different tracks as well, isn't it? 3 very different tracks, 3 very different conditions. So, whereas last year they only really managed to get it right on 1 or 2. So I think, yeah, I'd probably say Ferrari race pace, but I still think the Mercs have got quite a bit in quali. If they nail it, they just need to nail it. But yeah, we will see the rest of the season. Baku next, which is going to be interesting. But thank you very much for joining me for this one, Jonty. It's been a pleasure as always.
I can't wait to read the comments for this one.
Oh yeah, it's gonna. Yeah. Well, we're screwed, aren't we? Either way. So, and thank you very much as well, Chaz. I know it was a rush for you to get here, but I really do appreciate coming for Q&A as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And what a race. And hopefully for Baku, even if it's not as good, it's still a competitive race between the top 3.
Hopefully, yeah. Fingers crossed for that one. But thank you very much, guys, for joining me. Awesome as always. I'll talk to you inevitably, probably later today.
Yeah.
Right.
See you later.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much to Jonty and Chaz, and thank you everybody for watching as well. I think we hit almost 1,000 viewers again this week, which is absolutely fantastic. Brilliant to get you all involved as well. And don't forget, if you are watching and you commented underneath, there is no hate here. It is just an unbiased opinion based on what we saw. There is going to be a race review that goes up, proper race review that goes up tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow evening between 4 and 6:30, where I'll be able to have a bit more of the drive reaction from it as well. We've gone live straight after the race, obviously don't always get that reaction. After that, they'll be back with a video on Wednesday and again Thursday. And then, of course, next weekend, it's News Roundup Saturday and the first episode. I'm trying to big it up to be something that it really isn't, but the first episode of the F1 Word podcast recorded live on Sunday. And if you wonder if it's any different to a normal Sunday stream, it really isn't. It's just got a different name. But let's pretend it's something fresh and new. But you can follow me on social media. Links to Facebook and Twitter are both in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.